Zara and Lena, two young alien girls from the planet Zephyr, loved to explore. They spent their free time wandering the hills and valleys near their village, pretending to be great adventurers. One day, they decided to journey farther than ever before. "Let's go to the forbidden place," said Lena, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "The ruins of the old ones." Zara frowned. The elders spoke of the ruins in hushed whispers, warning children to stay away. "I don't know, Lena. It could be dangerous." "Oh, don't be scared. Where's your sense of adventure?" Lena grabbed her friend's hand. "Come on, it will be fun. We'll be in and out before anyone knows." Zara hesitated, but she could never say no to Lena. With a sigh, she followed her friend towards the distant hills where the ancient ruins waited. As they hiked, the sun beat down hot on their backs. Strange birds cawed overhead, and small creatures scurried away into holes. The dusty landscape slowly changed from brown to gray as they neared the ruins. Towering metal structures rose up like skeletons, casting long shadows. Lena raced ahead, her laughter echoing in the empty space. Zara followed more slowly, a strange unease settling in her stomach. The ruins felt eerie and wrong, like they didn't belong. "Hey Zara, look at this," called Lena. She stood before a huge metal door set into a cliff face, barely visible behind a tangle of dried vines. Strange symbols marked the door's surface. Zara moved closer, curiosity temporarily overcoming her fear. "What do you think it says?" Lena shrugged. "Who cares? Let's see what's inside." Before Zara could stop her, Lena pulled hard on the door's handle. With a rusty screech, it opened. Musty air drifted out from the dark space beyond. "I'm not sure we should go in there," Zara said uncertainly. "You worry too much." Lena turned on her small handlight and stepped into the darkness. With a groan, Zara followed. It took a moment for their eyes to adjust. They stood in a long hallway lined with doors. The floor was thick with dust and chunks of broken stone. Lena moved down the hall, shining her light on the doors. Each one had a small window at head height. "I wonder what these rooms were for." Lena mused. She peered through a window. "Hey, there's something in here." "What is it?" asked Zara, moving to look through another door's window. Dim shapes were just visible inside. "I can't tell. We need to get a closer look." Lena tried the door handle. To their surprise, it opened easily. They stepped into a medium-sized room. Mysterious machines lined the walls, dark and silent. But the strangest sight was in the room's center. 4 large metal pods sat in a neat row, tubes and wires connecting them to the machines. "What are these things?" whispered Zara. A bizarre thought struck her. "Lena, what if the old ones are in these pods?" Lena laughed. "Don't be silly. The old ones died out thousands and thousands of years ago." But she moved closer to one of the pods, wiping dust from a small window at one end. She gasped. "Zara, there's something in here. It looks like a person." Zara's heart raced as she peered into the pod. A face looked back at her. A sleeping woman's face, her skin pale and hair an odd yellow color. Zara jerked back in shock. Is she dead? Lena frantically scraped more dust and grime from the pod's surface, revealing a faintly glowing panel. "I don't think so. Look, this shows a heartbeat." Her voice shook with excitement. "Zara, I think it's a cryopod. My father told me about them. The old ones used them to sleep for hundreds of years." "That's impossible," breathed Zara, but seeing was believing. She turned to the other pods and hurriedly cleaned their windows too. Each one held a different sleeping person. "Lena, how is this possible? How can old ones still be alive after all this time?" Lena couldn't tear her eyes away from the pod. "I don't know. But imagine what this means. Real live old ones, here with us now. Think of all we could learn from them." She noticed a large red button on the pod's side panel and reached for it eagerly. "Let's wake one up and find out." "No," Zara grabbed her friend's arm. We can't just wake them up. We don't know anything about them. What if they're dangerous? How could they be dangerous? Look at them. They're just normal beings like us, argued Lena. Except they're from the past. Think about it, Zora. No one has seen a real old one for hundreds of thousands of years. This is the discovery of a lifetime. Zora wavered. Her friend made a good point. If these beings were really old ones, imagine how much knowledge they could share. What if they could teach the people of Zephyr lost technologies or forgotten history? It was too big an opportunity to ignore. Taking a deep breath, Zora let go of Lena's arm. Okay, but be careful. And let's just wake up one for now and see what happens. Lena grinned and turned back to the pod. Slowly, reverently, she pushed the button. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, with a sudden hiss, the pod cracked open. The two girls scrambled back as freezing mist poured from the opening pod. A slender figure sat up jerkily, coughing and gasping. Frightened but fascinated, Zara and Lena stared in awe at the first old one seen in nearly 1,000,000 years. The woman blinked dazedly, shaking strands of golden hair out of her face. Her piercing blue eyes flicked over the girls and widened in shock. Where am I? She croaked in a language the girls' translation chips could barely parse. Who are you? What year is it? Lena stepped forward eagerly. Welcome to planet Zephyr. We're Lena and Zora. You've been asleep for a really, really long time. How long? The woman demanded hoarsely. Lena glanced at Zora, then back to the woman. She said softly, 800,000 years, give or take. The woman stared at them, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. That's not possible. If that much time passed, then Earth? The cataclysm. What happened? Zara shook her head sadly. Earth is gone. It's nothing but a dead rock now. No one has lived there since. Well, since your time, I guess. Gone. No, that can't be. The woman's voice shook. Despair and desperate hope warred on her face as she looked at Zara and Lena. Please, you have to help me. Help me wake up the others. You're our only hope now. Zara and Lena looked at each other, both excited and frightened by this unexpected responsibility. The fate of the last humans now rested in their young hands. What would they do? Zara and Lena stared at the awakened woman, trying to process her desperate plea. The weight of the moment settled heavily on their young shoulders. Okay, said Lena at last, straightening her spine with determination. We'll help you, but you have to tell us everything. Who are you? Why were you in Cryo-Sleep? What happened to Earth? The woman took a shaky breath. My name is Asha. I am a scientist. When we learned our sun was going to explode, we built thousands of cryopods and underground bunkers on other planets to try and save as many people as possible. Her voice cracked. Earth didn't make it. The pods were our last hope to preserve the human race. Zara felt a swell of sympathy for Asha. She couldn't imagine the grief of waking up to find your whole world gone. Gently, she laid a hand on the woman's trembling shoulder. I'm so sorry. That must be so hard. But you're not alone now. We'll help you and the others. Lena nodded firmly. That's right. But we need to be smart about this. We can't just wake everyone up at once. It would be too chaotic. And we need to figure out how to explain this to our leaders. Asha straightened, a glimmer of hope entering her eyes. Your leaders, so there is civilization out there. Oh yes, said Lena proudly. The Zephyri have cities and ships that sail the stars. I bet we could find a place for you and your people. Zara shifted uneasily. I don't know, Lena. You know how the elders feel about outsiders. They might not welcome a bunch of aliens showing up out of nowhere. Asha frowned. Aliens? But we're all the same, aren't we? Just people. It's complicated, sighed Zara. Our people have a long history of conflict with other races. They tend to distrust anyone who's different. An uncomfortable silence fell. Then Asha stood up. wobbling slightly but resolute. "Please, take me to your leaders. I have to try and convince them. The future of my people depends on it." Lena and Zara exchanged a long look, a silent debate playing out between them. Finally, Lena nodded. "Okay, we'll take you. But we have to be careful. Let me do the talking, okay?" The journey back to the Zephyri city was tense and quiet. Asha stared out the windows of the hover tram, marveling at the alien landscape flying by. Towering rainbow spires, floating gardens, creatures she couldn't begin to name. It was like something out of a fantasy book. But as they entered the city proper, Asha began to pick up on the worried glances and hushed whispers from other passengers. They were all staring at her, suspicion and even outright hostility on some faces. She shrank back in her seat, suddenly understanding Zora's warnings. At the city center, guards ushered them into an imposing government building. Lena and Zara were immediately swarmed by a crowd of anxious adults, scolding them for disappearing. Asha hovered awkwardly to the side, unsure what to do. Silence. A booming voice cut through the chaos. The crowd parted to reveal a tall, stern Zephyri with a face etched in deep lines. Zara gulped. It was Counselor Orin, one of the most powerful leaders. Orin glared down at them, his eyes hard and cold as he took in Asha. "What is the meaning of this? Who is this outsider?" Lena stepped forward, lifting her chin bravely. "Counselor Orin, this is Asha. She is one of the old ones, preserved in Cryo-Sleep for hundreds of thousands of years. Her people need our help." Surprised murmurs broke out at this. Orin narrowed his eyes. "The old ones? Impossible. They're long extinct." He snapped his fingers at a guard. "Arrest the outsider. Clearly a liar. And a spy." "No," cried Zora as guards seized Asha. "She's telling the truth. We found others like her, still sleeping. Please, we have to help them." But Orin turned away, unmoved. "You girls have caused enough trouble today. Go home now. I'll deal with this outsider myself." As the guards dragged her away, Asha caught Lena's eye, pleading. "Please," she called out. "Please, you have to save the others. You girls are my only hope." Frustrated tears welled in Zora's eyes as she watched Asha disappear down a dark corridor. She turned to Lena, expecting to see defeat on her friend's face. But instead, Lena's eyes glinted with stubborn determination. "We can't let this happen," Lena said quietly. "We have to save Asha and the other humans." "But how?" asked Zora. "You heard Orin. He won't listen." "Then we'll make him listen." Lena grabbed Zora's hand. "Come on, I have an idea. We need to get back to the pods and wake up the other humans. If we show up with all of them, they'll have to pay attention to us." Zara bit her lip nervously, but nodded. She knew her friend was right. They couldn't abandon Asha and the other humans now. Squaring their small shoulders, the girls slipped away down a side corridor, determined to find a way to save their new friends, no matter the cost. As they raced out of the city towards the ancient ruins and the cryopods within, both girls knew there would be no going back from this. But they were ready, ready to fight for what was right, ready to be heroes. Zara and Lena raced back to the ancient ruins, their hearts pounding with urgency. They had to get to the other humans before it was too late. As they ran, Lena outlined her plan. "We'll wake up as many as we can and bring them back to the city. They can't ignore a whole group of humans. And maybe some of them will have skills or knowledge that can help convince the council to let them stay." Zara nodded, though worry gnawed at her stomach. "I hope you're right. But we have to hurry. Who knows what they'll do to Asha?" They reached the cryo chamber, gasping for breath. Lena immediately started pressing buttons on the pods, trying to figure out how to open them. Zara kept watch at the door, her whole body tense and alert. One by one, the pods hissed open. Confused and disoriented humans stumbled out, blinking in the dim light. Lena did her best to explain the situation and keep everyone calm. but it was clear they were all reeling from the shock of waking up to a new world. "Listen up, everyone," Lena called out. "I know this is a lot to take in, but we don't have much time. One of your people, Asha, is in trouble. She needs your help. We all need to get to the city and convince our leaders to let you stay." Nervous murmurs broke out at this, but one man stepped forward, his jaw set with determination. "Asha, is she okay? What's happening?" "The council arrested her," said Zara. "They think you're all liars and spies. We have to change their minds, and fast." The man nodded grimly. "I'm Marco, Asha's husband. If she's in trouble, then I'm going to help, no matter what. Just tell us what to do." Relief broke over Lena's face. "Thank you. Okay, here's the plan." As Lena laid out her scheme, Zara couldn't help but marvel at the humans. They had just woken up to find their entire world gone, and their future uncertain, but they were still ready to jump into action to save one of their own. It was admirable. When everyone was ready, they set off towards the city at a quick march. Zara and Lena led the way, hearts in their throats as they approached the city gates. The guards startled at the sight of the alien procession. "Halt! Who goes there?" one guard barked, raising his weapon. Lena stepped forward, her voice ringing out clear and strong. "I am Lena, daughter of Counselor Zach. I demand an audience with the council for myself and these people." The guard hesitated, clearly torn. But seeing the determination on the faces of the gathered humans, he finally nodded. "Very well. But they must remain here. Only you girls may come inside." Zara squeezed Lena's hand as they followed the guard, trying to silently lend her strength. She could only hope her friend's plan would work. The council room was in an uproar when the girls entered. Counselors shouted over each other, arguing furiously, while poor Asha stood to the side, guarded and helpless. But all fell silent as Zara and Lena marched to the center of the room. "What is the meaning of this interruption?" growled Counselor Orin. Lena lifted her chin defiantly. "We are here to speak for Asha and her people. You can't just lock them away or kick them out. They need our help." "They are outsiders," Orin snapped. "A threat to our way of life. We cannot trust them." But Lena stood firm. "But that's just it, don't you see? They aren't outsiders, not really. They're people just like us, people who have lost everything. And right now, they're relying on us for compassion and aid. Are we really the kind of species that would turn our backs on those in need?" Orin opened his mouth to retort, but another counselor, Mira, raised her hand. "The child speaks wisdom," she said softly. "Perhaps it is time we reevaluate our hostility towards those who are different. These humans deserve a chance." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Emboldened, Zara stepped forward. "Asha and her people have skills and knowledge we can learn from, and we have a whole empty world that could be a new home for them. Imagine what we could achieve, humans and Zafiri working together." To Zara's shock, slow nods and thoughtful looks met her words. Could it be? Were they actually listening? In the end, it came down to a vote. And though it was close, the majority chose to welcome the humans, to give them a chance at a new life on Zephyr. Asha wept with relief as she embraced Marco, the other humans cheering behind them. Zara and Lena shared a look of triumph and joy. They had done it. They had saved the day, just like real heroes. And as they watched the humans and Zafiri start to mingle and talk, curious about each other despite the language barrier, the girls knew this was only the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, of course. Integrating two very different peoples was never easy. But if they could approach this new era with open minds and compassionate hearts, then Zara had no doubt that humans and Zafiri could build a bright future together. And to think, it had all started with two little girls, brave enough to reach out a hand in friendship to a stranger. Zara smiled. That was a story she couldn't wait to tell her own children someday. A story of hope and healing and the uniting power of kindness. In the weeks following the council's decision, The humans began the slow process of building a new life on Zephyr. It wasn't easy. Everything was strange and different, from the food to the customs to the very air they breathed. But they were determined to adapt and thrive. Asha and Marco, now the de facto leaders of the small human community, worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between their people and the Zephyri. They met with counselors, learned the language, and encouraged their fellow humans to embrace their new home. Zara and Lena were there every step of the way, helping where they could. They gave tours of the city, taught Earth games to Zephyri children, and even started a little translation business, helping the adults communicate. But not everyone was happy with the new arrivals. Some Zephyri, led by Counselor Orin, still viewed the humans with suspicion and fear. They whispered that the outsiders would bring disaster and ruin to their peaceful world. Tensions came to a head when a human child, exploring the edges of the city, accidentally damaged a sacred Zephyri shrine. An angry mob formed, demanding the humans be punished or cast out. Asha tried to calm the situation, offering sincere apologies and promises of restitution. But Orin saw his chance to strike. "See," he cried out to the gathered crowd, "the humans bring nothing but destruction. We must get rid of them before it's too late." The mob roared in agreement, surging forward. The humans huddled together, frightened and unsure. But Zara and Lena pushed their way to the front, standing firm between the angry Zephyri and their human friends. "Stop," Lena shouted. "This solves nothing. It was an accident, can't you see that?" Zara nodded, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "We're all still learning to live together. Mistakes will happen, but we can't let fear and anger control us. We have to find understanding and compromise." Orin sneered. "You're just children. What do you know of these things? The council may have been swayed by your naive prattling before, but the people will not be so easily fooled. Step aside." But Asha moved to stand with the girls, her eyes blazing with determination. "No, they're right. Hate and violence will only breed more of the same. If we want real peace, we have to work for it, even when it's hard, even when we're afraid." She turned to face the mob, hands spread in a gesture of openness. "Please, I know you're angry and frightened, but look around you. Look at what anger has brought us to. Is this who we want to be? A society that meets accidents with rage, that punishes children for mistakes? Or can we be something better?" For a long, tense moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, the crowd began to murmur. Faces that had been twisted with fury now looked uncertain, even ashamed. Mira, the counselor who had supported the humans before, stepped forward. "Asha is right," she said firmly. "We pride ourselves on being an enlightened, peaceful people. Let us not abandon those values now, in our fear. Let us instead come together to find a path forward in unity." Slowly, the crowd began to disperse. Some still grumbled, but the immediate crisis had passed. Asha sagged with relief, Marco moving quickly to support her. In the aftermath, a new understanding was reached. The humans would help repair the shrine, and in turn, they would be allowed to build their own sacred spaces. Orin was censured by the council for inciting violence, his influence greatly diminished. And Asha and Mira began working on a new set of laws, ones that would protect and include all the inhabitants of Zephyr, human and Zephyri alike. Life settled into a new normal. There were still challenges and misunderstandings, but there was also laughter, learning, and growth. Zara and Lena watched with pride as their two peoples began to weave together, creating a vibrant new culture that was stronger than either had been alone. Years passed. The human children grew up alongside their Zephyri peers, the old divisions fading away. And when Asha and Marco's daughter was elected to the council, the first of mixed human and Zephyri blood, Zara and Lena were there to cheer the loudest. They were old women now, their hair gray and their hands gnarled. But their hearts were still as full of hope and love as they had been that fateful day when they first discovered the cryopods. As they sat together in the sun, watching the next generation play and learn and build, Zara turned to her lifelong friend with a smile. "We did good, didn't we?" Lena nodded, her eyes misty but her smile wide. "We did. We really did." And they had. Because they had dared to dream of a world where difference was celebrated, not feared. Where compassion could triumph over hatred, and where a single act of kindness could change the course of history. It hadn't been easy. But as Zara and Lena knew, the most important things rarely were. And as they held hands and looked to the bright future they had helped create, they knew that every struggle, every challenge, had been worth it. Because this was their legacy, a world of peace, of unity, of hope. A world where two little girls had made all the difference simply by being brave enough to open their hearts. And that, in the end, was the greatest adventure of all. Zara and Lena's incredible discovery and their brave efforts to help the humans had become the stuff of legend on Zephyr. Their story was told and retold, inspiring generations with its message of compassion, unity, and the power of even the smallest person to make a difference. But as the years turned to decades and then to centuries, the true details of what had happened started to fade, lost in the mists of time. The cryo facility, once a place of wonder and pilgrimage, slowly crumbled back into the earth, its significance forgotten by all but a few devoted historians. Until one day, 1,000 years after Asha and her people had been awakened, a new discovery was made. A team of archaeologists, excavating the ancient ruins, found a hidden chamber that had been sealed away, untouched by the ravages of time. Inside, they found a single cryopod, still intact and operational. And inside that pod was a young human woman, her face serene in frozen sleep. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. The whole planet was abuzz with excitement and speculation. Who was this woman? How had she come to be left behind? And what secrets of the past might she bring into the light? Kella, a young Zephyri scientist, was tasked with overseeing the woman's awakening. As the descendant of both Zephyri and human ancestors, Kella felt a deep connection to this lost soul from the past. The awakening process was delicate and fraught with risk, but Kella was brilliant and careful. Slowly, gently, she eased the woman out of her long slumber. When the woman finally opened her eyes, blinking in the sudden light, Kella was there, holding her hand and offering words of comfort and explanation. The woman stared at her, shock and confusion playing across her face. Where am I?" the woman asked, her voice hoarse from centuries of disuse. "Who are you? What happened?" Kella smiled gently. "You're safe. You're on the planet Zephyr. I'm Kella. As for what happened, it's a very long story. What's the last thing you remember?" The woman frowned, her brow furrowing as she tried to piece together her fragmented memories. "I remember. The evacuation. The pods. We were supposed to sleep until it was safe, until we found a new home. But something went wrong with mine, I think. It didn't wake me up. And now." Her eyes widened as the realization hit her. "How long has it been?" Kalla took a deep breath. "A very long time," she said softly. "Over 1,000,000 years, we think. But don't worry, you're not alone. There were others, other humans who survived in Cryo-Sleep like you. They were found, centuries ago, by two brave little girls named Zara and Lena. They helped your people integrate with ours, to build a new life here on Zephyr." The woman listened, her expression cycling through disbelief, wonder, and finally, a tentative hope. "So, my people survived. We found a new home after all." Kella nodded, her smile widening. "More than survived. They thrived. Look at me, I'm proof of that. I'm descended from both humans and Zephyri. Our peoples are one now, our cultures and our hearts intertwined. And it's all thanks to Zara, Lena, and those first brave humans who dared to start anew." Tears welled in the woman's eyes. I don't know what to say. It's so much to take in. I'm grateful, of course, but I feel so lost. Everything I knew, everyone I loved, they're all gone, aren't they? Calla squeezed her hand, her own eyes glistening with sympathy. I can't imagine how hard this must be for you, but please know, you are not alone. You have a place here, with us. We are your family now, your people, and we will help you find your way in this new world, just as Zara and Lina helped your ancestors so long ago. The woman nodded, a single tear tracing down her cheek. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for not giving up on me, on us. I don't know what the future holds, but knowing that my people found kindness and acceptance here, it gives me hope. Calla smiled, her heart full. Hope is what brought us here. Hope and love, and the courage to reach out across the vast distances that separated us. That's the legacy of Zara and Lina, the gift they gave us all. And it's a legacy we'll continue to honor, with every new day and every new friend we make. And so a new chapter began in the long, wondrous story of humans and Zephyri. The woman, who came to be known as Asha's Hope, learned and grew and found her place in this strange new world. And through her, the memories and dreams of Earth lived on, a reminder of the unbreakable spirit that had carried humanity through the stars and the ages. For that, in the end, was the true miracle. Not just that humans had survived, but that they had held on to their humanity, their compassion, their ability to connect across all boundaries. And as long as those qualities endured, as long as there were those like Zara and Lina, like Asha and Calla, who were willing to open their hearts and minds to others, then there would always be hope. Hope for understanding, for unity, for a future brighter than any star. And that was a story worth telling, 1,000,000 years and more from now.